my jersey up too high in the rafters. I got a front team, new life and a tractor. Still sipping that moonshine and a blaster.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Moonlighters Club. It's your host Joel. I'm here with another special guest. I want everyone to say hello to Mr. James Chapman. What's up, James?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. I met you through just like LinkedIn searching.
Yeah.
Through Black business owners. And I came across your company website, Plainsight, and someone shouted you out and said congratulations. So I'm like, oh man, okay, that's cool. Then I looked it up, and then I just started reading different, like Googling people's names and seeing different articles, and I'm like, oh shit, this dude's doing stuff I want to do. So we're gonna get into all of that, but I'm like, oh, I gotta hit him up. I gotta reach out because I went to the site and I loved everything about it. I like any kind of networking application. So I just reached out. James was nice enough to join the show. So welcome and thank you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the recognition and glad that you saw value in what we're creating and building and saw some commonalities there and decided to reach out. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here and share space with you, bro.
Yeah. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Chattanooga, Tennessee, born and raised.
Did you go to school in the state?
No, I didn't. I went to school in Virginia actually, and I was on a basketball scholarship. I played at a little Division II school up in Bluefield, Virginia. So yeah, that's where I went for undergrad.
Oh, that's what's up. Okay, yeah. I played basketball, not officially, my whole life. So I'm one of the playground kids, but that's cool.
Yeah.
So actually, that's interesting. When you were in school and playing ball,
yeah,
did you always think entrepreneurship, or was it,
Yeah, I think I tried my hand at entrepreneurship when I was in college. I would, sell sneakers online. So I would just go around to different people on campus, and I had like this little flip book, and I would show because you really couldn't get sneakers in that small city that we were in. I would order these sneakers online for other people and sell them on campus, and that was kind of my way of like just having a little side money to go out to eat every now and again and that kind of stuff. And so I tried entrepreneurship in that way, but I never really planned on being an entrepreneur per se. When I was in undergrad, I was really focused on basketball. I thought maybe I would get a job in my career and that kind of thing, afterwards, but never necessarily planned on becoming a full-time entrepreneur.
All right. When did you see yourself playing ball professionally? Like no matter what it was, internationally, whatever the league.
Yeah, I tried that actually.
Okay.
I played a little bit afterwards. So I played down in Mexico for a season.
Wow.
And I tried my hand at the NBA Development League. I think it's called the G League now. It was the D League back then. And I made it all the way up until like training camp. I got cut at training camp. And then just decided that, all right, I'm done with hooping right now. It was a lot of inconsistencies with trying to play ball professionally, and I needed to eat, and so with all of those things. So yeah, I kind of let that rest.
It's funny when I don't even this from playing basketball is how different it is when you're outside just playing with friends and doing neighborhood leagues is one thing. As soon as you get into any kind of organized ball, like from high school up, you start learning about fits, systems. Like you're just like, yo, this is so much more than I thought. It's not just like everybody run out here and we'll just like the good separates itself. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, man. And then, once you start to get into professional side, it's a business. So you got to throw in those aspects. So not just, the stuff that's on the court and happens between the lines, but, there's all these business components, tied to the sport as well. So yes, it's very, very interesting, but I love it, man. I still watch ball all the time. I'm been watching the NBA. These players have been going crazy this year, and that's been fun. And I'll probably actually even go play a little pickup ball after we get done chopping it up because I still like to play to stay in shape. So
yeah, I'm 38. I'm a bitter dude. I hate these new dudes. I hate the fact that everybody's 6'7". Like everyone's 6'7", 6'8" slashes. And so it's like, I remember when guards were like maybe 5'10", 5'11". You got to be insane, but like mid sixes, not too crazy high. Your shooting guards didn't always have to be tall. They could, kind of be in the middle. And you had your small forwards where everyone's a small forward now, but then you had a defined power forward, defined center.
Yeah.
And that's gone, dog.
Yeah,
Everyone's
yeah.
just super fast and
Yeah,
lanky.
it's all over the place now. I mean, you got 7-footers who are shooting a three and doing all kind of stuff. So yeah, the game has definitely changed. But it's fun to watch.
When you decided to be done with ball,
Yeah.
did you have an idea for what you might want to do from a career perspective?
I was still trying to figure it out, really. I went back home to Chattanooga. I was working at FedEx at night, just unloading boxes, just to have some income. And then I got into like a workforce development program that was trying to help me find a job and that kind of stuff. And then I ended up stumbling upon a job within that organization. So I started working for the workforce development program that I was in, just because I was asking a lot of questions and they felt like, I was a pretty hardworking and curious guy. So they decided to bring me on in and that kind of thing. And so I stayed with that organization for about maybe 4 to 5 years before I actually started my first like full-time entrepreneurial endeavor.
Was there a specific thing that happened? You were like, yo, I got to do my own thing.
I had kind of climbed the ladder within that small organization pretty quick. It wasn't a big group. It was a government job and that kind of stuff. And so, once I realized that the only other job I could really have was like my boss's job or my boss's job, I was like, I don't really think I should do this anymore. Like, I might as well start figuring out how to get out of here. And I just kind of wanted to control my own destiny and not have things be so stiff, man. I like a new challenge. I like excitement. And so it wasn't like a conversation or like something really bad that necessarily happened at work, but it was a point where I realized like, I don't think I want to be here anymore. I need to get out. And I started to just explore other stuff. And I honestly wasn't just necessarily married to starting a business at that time of my life. Like, I thought about going to work for other, organizations. And I also thought about even going back to school. I applied for and got accepted into grad school. But then, decided to go the business route.
What did you decide on as the first venture? What was it and why?
Yeah, I ended up starting a mobile oil change business, and I started it because I was always going over on my changes for my car. And so like, I was like, oh, like I'll just start a business so that people can come to you and do your oil changes. Like, my cousin used to come to my mom's house all the time and fix her car and do oil changes and different stuff. So like, maybe I'll start that. And I Googled it and, it was a thing, but it wasn't a thing in Chattanooga. So I was like, all right, even better. Like, I'll start it here. I've never changed oil a day in my life, but I felt like it was a pretty innovative idea. And then I ended up, hooking up with a mechanic, and we bought a van and, we bought oil and supplies and stuff. And then just started the business. We started doing oil changes on site for people. And what ended up becoming actually pretty sticky was like going out to fleets. So like, if you have a fleet of vehicles, you're taking those cars one by one to get service, and we would, send one guy on campus for them, and they would just knock out the whole fleet for them and that kind of stuff. So that was my first, my first entrepreneurial endeavor after full-time work.
How long were you doing it for?
I probably did it for a couple years actually, and I started to get a little bit less excited about it, to be honest, because it was like, once it sat in that I was doing oil changes, I was like, well, I'm not passionate about this. You know what I'm saying? Like it started off as like, oh, this is a cool idea. And like, I don't have to work this job anymore. And like, I'll just start this, and got a little bit of traction. I was like, oh, but I have to keep doing this every single day. Like, I have to sell oil changes every day. I don't want to keep doing this. And so, it ended up what ended up happening is, because of the small success that I was having with the business, a number of other budding entrepreneurs just started reaching out to me who were all working 9-to-5 jobs. And so I started opening up a space at night that was like my little mini office hours, but it ended up turning into like a nighttime co-working space for side hustlers. And so that's what I really found myself passionate about, was helping people make connections to human capital, to monetary capital, whatever the case may be, and just connecting with people and building community and within shared spaces. And so I found myself being more passionate about, just the helping people side of the business than actually running that oil change business itself, which was very interesting.
I am so jealous that you created that. When I saw Plainsight, I was like, oh, this is cool. I like things like that. Like I tried to do a fitness networking app. When I saw the what was the name of the nighttime co-working space?
Workaholics. Yeah.
Workaholics. When I saw that, I was
what led to the idea for Plainsight. Yeah. I wanted to start helping people make those in-person connections at scale. I was doing it at one, physical place. And then I was like, well, I feel like technology maybe could be integrated here and we could do this at scale. And so that's kind of how the idea even came about. One thing just led to another.
Workaholics pissed me off. I was like, why not come up with this? Damn it. When you get like, I'm happy. Yeah, but I liked it.
If you ever want to do a nice co-working space, I got the flavor for you. I can tell you all the ins and outs and people dig it,
So people were reaching out to you because of and this how this is in Tennessee, how wide, like how far were people reaching out?
Was it just the city? Yeah, it was just
city.
People locally in the city of Chattanooga just asking questions like, yo, how'd you put your business plan together? Or how'd you get your business funded? Or how'd you do this or that when it comes to your business? And so, I was always meeting with people at nighttime. And so that's why I was like, all right, I'm just going to open up a dedicated space for this. And it became, pretty popular. It was cool.
How many, like, what would you, like, how many people would, and this is like every day?
No, we were only doing it 3 nights a week. And so we would do it 3 nights a week, and we were using the space of like this local incubator back home.
Okay.
And so that way I didn't have to, pay for the space. They liked that I was bringing the foot traffic in and those types of things. And so on any given night, you may have seen like anywhere between 10 and 20 people show up to the space and do their thing. Yeah.
That's so cool, man. Yeah, it'd definitely be cool to do a Last Cup Workaholics edition and have like the people you worked with, like, just getting their stories. Cause I'm sure you've heard about people from like all kinds of industries.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And a lot of people were just trying to transition from part-time side hustler to making it their full-time thing. And I think that they saw that I took that leap and, was trying my hand at it and doing my best. And they wanted to at least learn a few things so that they could take that leap too. So that's kind of how it popped off.
When you got to the point of, all right, I did this oil change business. I'm not whatever happened to it, because it's functioning and you're doing it. You're just not passionate about it.
I ended up giving it to my partners. I had a couple partners I was working with, started to let them run it. But, without that real leadership, it just eventually we just closed it down and folded it up.
When you left it, after it folded up, did you ever see yourself working again? Were you like, all right, I got a taste for running my own thing. It may not, I could do it. Or are you at that point like, this is just how I'm going to be. I'm going to do my own thing. I can understand the steps that it takes. Or were you always like, no, I can, if I got to work, I can work.
Yeah, I think I'm still like that. It's like, as long as I'm doing something where I can show up and be myself and I think it's fulfilling work and, there's purpose in what I'm doing. I don't care if it's my own thing or if somebody's paying me to be a part of their thing. It doesn't really concern me. And specifically, so I ended up moving to Detroit, right? So I was running the Workaholic space, and then that got the attention of some folks up in the Detroit area. And they were like, yo, you're an entrepreneur that's helping entrepreneurs. We want somebody like you to come up and work for us so that you can roll out programming for entrepreneurs here in the city of Detroit. Wow. And I was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? Like I flew up to Detroit a couple of times, got a chance to meet the organization. Dan Gilbert is the guy who was leading the organization, and met with him. He owns the Cavs and, huge basketball fan. And so got to go to some games and all of that type of stuff. So, as far as just like that whole mentality around like, all right, am I just leaving, the workforce, for entrepreneurship and never going to work for somebody again? I didn't really have that mentality. I just wanted to show up and learn and do fulfilling work and get paid to do it.
That's insane. So yeah, because I remember I grew up in Boston. I used to live in Minnesota. So like the Midwest is small enough to where you hear about things happening in different states, and especially from an innovation standpoint. I remember hearing about Dan Gilbert investing more money into Detroit. So I was like, that's cool. I was still mad about the letter he wrote to LeBron, but I was like, all right, I'll forgive him. So that's cool. So was it like Was it just an organization that benefit entrepreneurs in Detroit, or like a accelerator program kind of?
Yeah, it was just a program. They already had some programming that they were doing, and they kind of wanted to go in a different direction with the programming. And so I just came in and took that programming over and
Nice.
built something new from scratch. And what we ended up doing was a $1 million pitch competition. So I started this thing called Detroit Demo Day, where we award companies that are based in Detroit or willing to relocate to the D anywhere between $1 million. Anywhere between $50,000 and $300,000 individually for their business, and in total $1 million every year. So, yeah, man, that was great. Just running that, and got to meet a lot of very just exciting and fascinating entrepreneurs, and share stories with them and build things and create things with them. So it was almost like, I was connecting people to human capital with the space down in Chattanooga, and then now I'm connecting entrepreneurs with monetary capital for their businesses. And so, I love the organization. I love Demo Day, and still, have really close connections with the group.
That's what's up. So basically, James knows where the money is kept. Yo, I honestly think I think that's the best idea. Like when I was trying to build an app a while back, I would try to do. I remember hearing about stuff in different cities. Like I have a good friend who lives in Richmond, Lighthouse Labs, 43 North in Buffalo, Launch KC. I think it's one of the best things to do, because especially now with COVID, people used to be scared. I don't know if I can live here. I don't know if I can go there. But you're like, who cares? Like once you get your routine, there's definitely cities that have different perks that others don't. But if you're trying to start or build, there's a few places out. I mean, most I'll try a new city out to help be part of the change of there. I'd love it. I'd love to go to Detroit to help people.
Right.
So, how long were you doing that?
So I ended up doing that for like 3 years.
3 years.
And within that time, I kept thinking about the workaholic space, and I kept thinking about people saying like, yo, Chap, who's in the space right now? Who's going to be at the space tonight? Or can you help me make a connection to somebody that does this particular thing or that particular thing in the area? And that's when I really was like, all right, technology could solve this problem. Like I can help people make these types of connections if I just had some type of technology to be able to curate these connections for people who are looking to grow their networks. And so, I end up telling the team, over at the Demo Day team and Dan and all of those guys, like, look, I've grown this thing out for a few years now, and I've got the itch to start my own thing again. I got this problem I can't stop thinking about. So I think I'm going to go off and start it. And so I ended up, leaving it to raise money for Plainsight and go full time on it.
All right. So you're literally, your story is mad dope. You're literally LeBron. You started, you had your oil thing, built it up. You built it up. You Workaholics. You build it up. You go to Detroit. You build it up. That's what's up, man. And I feel like, I underestimated, and I think it's understated how much experiences like this can help you as a business owner.
Oh, yeah.
Because when I first started the Moonlighters Cup, it was like basically we hate work. It was just like, I'm bitter. Like, and the places I was at weren't even that. They weren't bad at all. They were startups. Like startups have their bumps, and you learn every single step of the way. So like, if I could turn back, I'm gonna do it exactly the same way. So let's get into that when you're at Plainsight. So you're doing these different things. You're taking stuff from Workaholic. So you're like, okay, I can kind of see the need for something. When you're in Detroit, you're getting it too. Did you already, prior to leaving Detroit, because you said you left to raise money, were you already working on the business itself, name, the wireframe, stuff like that?
Stuff. Yeah, so I didn't end up leaving Detroit. I just left the job.
Just left the job
of the Demo Day stuff. So that's first point. And then the second point of that you asked, what ended up happening is I was thinking about the idea while I was working at Demo Day and doing the Demo Day stuff. And I was moonlighting, right? At nighttime, I would just like try to put business plan, ideas and that kind of stuff together. And when I really got to a point where I felt like the plan came together, I was like, all right, now I'm ready.
Okay.
And so that's what it looked like to me. I just wanted to make sure I had a really good plan. Want to make sure I had the blessing of the folks that I was working with at the time with the Demo Day work, that they were in support of what we're doing. And what ended up happening is, not only was Dan supportive, but he decided to be one of the investors into the company. Like I told him what we were building. He was like, all right, I really like this. Like, I'll be one of your investors if you have me. And so Dan decided to invest, and I had some other people invest as well that I kind of ran the idea by before I even told Dan about it. And was like, this is cool. You know, I would invest in this kind of a deal. So that's how that transition ended up happening.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm getting pumped right now, dog. That's what I'm talking. So I want to ask you a question. When you were now that, because when you were working on the oil change business, I saw like you saw something, you saw a problem, and you put a solution to it.
Yeah.
When you were working on when you're on Plainsight and you're around entrepreneurs and just in that environment, how did that affect your way of thinking on this next business? Like, because I'm sure there's positive aspects. Like, no, I'm around people, I can bounce stuff off folks. But does it now, when you gain more knowledge and you see more things happening, did you see yourself, I don't know, overthinking things or overanalyzing things because you're so close to other businesses, you're seeing things work, you're seeing stuff not work, you're around new experiences. Did it change the way you started a business? I'm just curious because I feel like when I'm around other people who do start businesses and I see things work and I see things not work, or I just learn more stuff, now my head just has more stuff in it. You know, I feel like the stuff I'm more successful at is when I just do it and I don't like, I try to blend out. Yeah. So I'm just curious. Now that you're in that environment, you're seeing all this information, all this stuff, all these connections. Yeah. Is everything the same? Nope. I'm gonna start this out. Here's the plan. Let's hit it. Or did it change the way you approach?
It definitely made me change my approach with some things. And I think not necessarily even from like, okay, this is the problem and this is how I want to solve the problem. Right. I think that kind of has stayed consistent through the time. And I knew that there would be some iterations and some things we would need to add and change and some, things that we would need to change about the business model that we just, more so figured out through customer discovery and those types of things. But to go back and answer your question around like what things did change, I think just how to be an entrepreneur, right? And like how to approach business definitely changed. I started seeing some of the processes that other entrepreneurs had in place. I started seeing some of the products that other entrepreneurs were using to make their business run more effectively and efficiently. I started picking up on some of the best practices that other entrepreneurs were using on a day-to-day basis. To keep everything, consistent with the different tools that they may be using. Because on any different day, man, I may be using Notion, I may be using Slack, I may be using Outlook and all of that type of stuff. Even from just putting business, like when we're getting ready to hire our first employees, or I went to another founder to ask them to, give me their business job description for, the developers that they were hiring. So I think I just learned a lot of operational, tactical, practical things from being around entrepreneurs that definitely allowed me to avoid some pitfalls for sure and just do things in a more consistent way without having to go back. And I'm still learning. Like, that's the crazy thing about it is like the more I talk to entrepreneurs on a regular basis, the more I learn about like, oh, I could be doing things differently if I just, do this and I'll actually be more successful. And you'd be surprised when usually it's just like small tweaks, right? Usually it's not like I need to change everything, I need to throw everything away and start over. You was like, no, you just change that thing right there and start doing that differently. Everything will open up for you. It's hard for you to see that without actually being around like-minded people who are doing things similar to you, or at least just entrepreneurial-minded people.
So okay, good. So nice. It's good seeing this, man. I love just kind of seeing. And this is why I started this podcast. I feel like a lot of the times stories are so magical. It's like Mark Zuckerberg, he was just down on his luck and his last line of code was, you're like, all right, like this guy had no money left and someone called the last, you're like, all right. I like just hearing about stories. People are like, no, I assessed, I analyzed, I created something and I just went through it step by step. It's just good to see that every once in a while. I've never been to Detroit. How do you like Detroit?
I love Detroit. I think the thing that I love most about Detroit is the people, man. It's just very authentic, hardworking, innovative people. Detroit was once one of the greatest cities in the country and thriving from an economic standpoint, right? They went from like 1.2 million people in the city to downtown. Now I think it's like 600,000. And, the auto industry and politics and all of that kind of stuff kind of got in the way and some other things. But as far as just like my appreciation and love for the city, man, it's great. I love the people that are here. I don't necessarily like the winners. Those
Yeah.
pretty brutal. That's here, the innovation and the creativity that's in the D, man, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, the people, Detroit folks are pretty. They're real. Like it's salt of the earth. Like I remember.
So they're not.
Yeah.
Loyal to their city, and you appreciate that.
Yeah, they're real. I remember we'd go to Vikings games and Lions fans would show up. This is the year they were 0-16, and they were just all about their team. But they were so chill. Like we're just hanging out with strangers for hours, and they were just they're the coolest folks. So you're still in Detroit. Are you when you start focusing on Plainsight? Is it just you? Did you have like contractors or any partners that you're working with when you officially left?
I had a few colleagues that I reached out to say, yo, I want you to come work on this thing with me, or I want you to think about working on this thing with me. And I ran the idea by them. And I tried to find folks to surround myself with that offset my weaknesses, right? So I try to be, very self-aware of both my strengths and weaknesses, and then went out to try to find some folks that I feel like could really offset those weaknesses and ask them to join the squad with me. So I started that alone at first, and then slowly but surely I started to add more and more people to the team and build a little small team so that we can get the thing going.
Cool. So let's just talk about the business now. Like what is the business name, the tagline or mission, and let's get right into it.
Yeah. So Plainsight, we make it easy for you to find the connections that you're looking to make at places like events, co-working spaces, and travel spaces. And so that's what we do. Pretty simple. Everybody's looking to grow their network, and they're looking to make the right connections and meet the right people. And we use data and technology to be able to help you do that. And we used to only do it in person at places like events. So like you would see an event, you would see who's going to that event, you check into that event, you match up with the people that are there. But once the pandemic hit and there were no events and there were no physical spaces for co-working spaces, travel space for people to go to, I mean, like a month before the pandemic hit, we secured a partnership with Delta for every Delta Sky Lounge to be listed on the app. Yeah. And then Delta closed all of their lounges March 2020, as soon as the pandemic hit. And so, we've gone through a number of ups and downs with the business and trying to figure out how to provide people value virtually, even if they aren't in the same physical space, but really excited to know that physical spaces are having a comeback, and there's more density that's happening in cities within these spaces and things of that nature. Events are coming back. And so, we're excited to be on that side of things for sure, but that's what we do.
Okay, I had a bunch of questions lined up that you keep surprising me. This Delta thing just blew my mind. Let me reel it in. So, we had the reason behind this for a while, and you talked to people about you were showing the idea, you found some investors. To aside from building the platform, how did you get? Because this is about connections, so. Were you just walking into spaces or going to places going to event organizers and going there, or was it physically going out to a place going, okay, I'm going to advertise this service to people who frequent this so they know who I am? I'm curious how you got the word out about Plainsight once you
got it going. Yeah. So at first it was just very grassroots, like using the relationships that I had, using events that I saw, using co-working spaces that I was familiar with, and just going to those spaces and saying, yo, I'll buy your co-working members pizza or tacos or whatever for lunch if they'll test out my product, right? And give me feedback on it. And I want you to give me feedback on it too. And so in the early days, it was just a lot of that, a lot of testing, a lot of iteration, a lot of just getting into the hands of people and get feedback on it so that you can figure out what you need to do differently and really test your assumptions. And so it was very, very grassroots in the beginning. And then once we kind of figured out what we wanted to do, and we launched October 2019. So we launched 5 months before the start of the pandemic.
Okay.
And so that more so looked like, all right, well, let's join a few groups and let's, get the word out a little bit more organically. So going to events and things of that nature to put this into the hands of people. And and still using those events and spaces kind of like our distribution for getting the word out. And then when the pandemic hit, everything changed, right? So we had to just completely shift our model to trying to find virtual communities that maybe we would create for those people to be able to check in. But I think the most exciting thing for us is not only that in-person events are coming back, but we have the ability to have events that are in person use us for both online registration as well as the experience for the connections, right? And so it used to be like, like a event partner may say, all right, I'm going to list this on Eventbrite, and then I'm going to tell all my folks to download the app and check into my event. Well, now it's just like a one-stop shop, right? Everybody will register on the Plainsight app online for an event that they see. And then right then and there, they can download the app and see who else is registered for that event and check in and make the connections. And so that's kind of how we've shifted and evolved with the business model and with the approach, since October 2019.
Nice, man. It's good to see that come back. It's needed. I work in sales / account management outside of doing this. And with this, I have to just meet people all the time. This is like I'm consistently talking. And while I'll do it virtually, I am not good virtual. Virtual Joel is like half of real life Joel.
We'll send our users these like daily matches for people to, that's in the Plainsight community for them to take a look at and connect with virtually and send them a message or follow them. And that's cool. And we'll always continue to do that. But our strength and bread and butter is really going to be around in person. And one of the things that we're doing right now for marketing is we're signing up these ambassadors, right? So if you are a Plainsight ambassador, that means that you be paid every time somebody checks in at an event that you host or plan. And so just putting the money back into the hands of creatives who are event planners and event hosts and things of that nature, and allowing them to reap some benefits from them using our platform, a platform that they would likely use anyway for their attendees and for their registration. We want to work with them, and we know that it's hard, during that type of business. And so, making it easy for everybody is going to be a good thing for us. So we're still pretty much grassroots with it, man. Like we like to touch people. We like to go to where the people are to be able to get the word out about what we're doing.
How big is the team now?
It's 5 of us right now.
5 of y'all. Cool.
Yes.
Cool.
It's a non-technical founder. We've got 1 developer on the team, and then one of the 2 co-founders are on the squad as well.
Nice, man. It's good to see you doing this. I was a non-technical founder as well, and my where I hit the wall at was just not knowing what tech was and was not needed, and then I think it was a gold rush at that point. So this was like 2014. So pretty much everyone was like, we're trying to be the social network, right? It was like, let's just do this. And I think now, hopefully now people who aren't technical are realizing there's various ways to do things. I met someone who used no code to create something. And then also just what you need to get to first get on the market. Back then, I feel like everyone was trying to make the most amazing, like, this is going to change everything. Instead of just build something that serves the purpose and get it out. So you're in Atlanta now, right?
I bounce in between with COVID, but I spend a lot of my time mostly in Atlanta, but still have my place in Detroit and that kind of thing. So,
okay.
Yeah, I can go back and forth.
Was that for just personal living purposes, or was that business related too?
Just personal, to be closer to family, really.
Okay.
My family's in Chattanooga. Atlanta's like an hour and a half from there. And so being able to easily see family whenever I want to and that kind of thing has been great. And rock out with, friends and loved ones down in Atlanta too. Like that's just been dope. And so, but still have my ties here, and the business is still based in Detroit too.
Are there big differences between growing a base in Detroit and doing stuff? Because I know COVID came, but is it different the way how people interact for events and stuff like that in Atlanta as opposed to in Detroit?
I would say so. I think Atlanta's just such a unique place, man. There's so much personality with Atlanta. The entertainment is very different in Atlanta, and the culture is very different in Atlanta. And so, yeah, for sure. I think the networking looks different there too, right? And then, even DC's a city that I'm very much interested in, but the networking that's going to happen in DC looks very different than the networking that happens in Atlanta too. Like it's got a real political vibe to it, and some corporate vibe to it, and that kind of stuff. And so, all things are good, but I definitely like Atlanta. I like being close to home, and the weather, of course, you know
Yes.
what I mean? So, being in the South, weather's usually pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the East Coast, so it's like, but I'm getting to a point where it's wearing me down. I'm like, look, and DC's luckily it'll snow twice. Like I know they've had bad snowstorms in the past, but I've been here since like 2020, and it was like maybe it snowed twice, a dusting, and it was like cool. I can deal with
this. Right.
Yeah. So nice. So
variety, as long as you got 4 seasons. I like to have 4 seasons, right? And if it snows a couple times, cool. But I like to see the sun too, and all of that type of stuff.
So what is I remember you talking about doing stuff that you're passionate about. Is the passionate part about this business the fact that you get to bring people together?
I think so. And I think not only that, just see what happens after those people come together, like what things get created, how people are inspired from meeting new people, right? I mean, everybody knows those saying your network is your net worth. And if you don't have a built-in network, then, what are you going to do? And I really also like, when we were first getting started, a lot of people would come to me and say, I identify as somebody who's introverted. I know the importance of networking, but it's hard to put myself out there. And so having this kind of opt-in tool where I know people are down to meet new people and I can kind of do it on my own terms is really helpful. Another thing that I really like is we don't use we don't use profile pictures. We only use avatars. And we do that to combat unconscious bias and to help with privacy. And so we want people really making those meaningful connections based off of the value that they bring to the table and not necessarily because of like what they look like or what their name is or any of that kind of stuff. So it's a lot of purpose in this work, man. And I'm having a great time even through the dark days.
Is it easy now? Like, what is now that you've done a few things, what is the thing now what things do you want to improve on or opportunities to improve on in terms of
none of this is easy. It's all, it's very, very difficult. But I think what the part that I'm excited about the most is I learn something new about myself every single day. When you're running a business and you're trying to, it's different from just trying to run a small business, right? Like I was doing with the oil change business. And then now trying to have this tech company that scales and, what's your exit strategy or, are you going public or, how is this all going to work? Like, what's the end game? Why are you doing this for? Like meeting these milestones and all of these types of things, everything that's involved with this type of work and things that you have to think about. It's different. It's different and it's challenging. But I've accepted that challenge and I've been proud of myself for how I've been able to show up and continue to grow and evolve and compete with everything that's been going on. Because I think at the end of the day, I'm an athlete and I'm a competitor and I'm somebody that's showing up every day to win. And I think business is one of the most competitive sports that there is, if not the most competitive. And so I bring that mentality every day. And, I'm having fun, but it's hard as shit.
Are you at least good at like time? Like that's one thing I'm getting better at. Like I don't burn the midnight oil. Like I'm not. I work at a place now where I don't have to. I can look at growth stuff for the podcast, but I'm not going to sleep at midnight angry. I'm like, nope. If they get done, I'm gonna move it. What about you?
Yeah, my hustle has definitely looked different over the years. I think that I would just say, all right, I'm just going to work until my eyes close, whatever, and that kind of stuff. But that's not sustainable. You can do that for a little while or whatever, but you should actually get to a point where you don't have to do that. You should actually get to a point where you've got good habits in place so that you aren't doing that as well and still being effective. And so, everything about me is pretty routine, especially when it comes to how I start my days and how I end my nights. And so like, start of the day, I'm gonna basically eat the same breakfast. I got my same workout routine that I'm gonna do. My vitamins, all of that kind of stuff. From the time that I'm gonna like plan my day out, right, and my tasks for the day. It's all very meticulous. And then when I get ready to go to bed, same deal. From the reading to the journaling to the meditation to the hours that I want to sleep and all of that type of stuff. I try to be very, very calculated, so that I can, have, so I can optimize my day, right? Like when you're working like that, you're like, oh, I'm gonna go to bed angry at 2:00 and just like go. Now, what time are you getting up? And then what time is your first meeting? And so you got to try to, build some safeguards and some barriers around yourself that you make work inside, and so that you aren't a victim to the work. The work should work for you, not you having to be a victim to the work. And things are going to come up where you got to crank stuff out. That is what it is. But it shouldn't be on a regular basis that you're doing that. You're trying to keep a routine.
Nice. Well, what do you have some milestones coming up for like just some one? That'd be a lot of things, or just a couple of things you want to see Plainsight do by like the end of 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. So, right now we're at 10,000 users in our community, over 10,000 users in our community. By Q1, we should be triple the size of that. So really looking forward to that. And so that's one of my main goals. I don't know how big it's going to get by the end of 2022, but I definitely want to make sure by Q1 we hit that, our projected goals of being triple the size. So that's one. And then, South by Southwest, I really want to make a big splash down at South by Southwest. We planned on going down to South by March 2020, and we didn't get that opportunity. And so really looking forward to making a big splash in March of next year. And then, after that, whatever else happens, but just want to continue to grow the community and provide as much value as I possibly can.
Nice, man. Do you have any advice for anyone who wants to be in your position, who's in your position, anything about starting a business that you say, look, listen to this?
I think you hinted at it in this with time. And I think the most important thing that I could get across is manage your time wisely. Have a good understanding of what things you should spend your time on versus what things you shouldn't. Everything seems like an emergency. Everything seems like it has to get done. But if you can really prioritize which things you're going to be able to work on, it's going to provide the biggest results, and just let go of the small stuff, the little annoying stuff, or, that color on the website that just bugging you because it's not shaped the right way, whatever. Don't worry about that. Like, nobody cares. You know what I mean? Like, don't spend 4 hours working on that. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest advice I can get, especially if you're somebody who's moonlighting, right? And you're working during the day, you're trying to work on your side hustle at nighttime and the weekends and that kind of stuff. Time is your friend. It's the only friend you got. And so you got to manage your time as effective as possible. So I would say that's the advice that I would give somebody, is just have a good understanding of the things that you should address and the things that can wait.
Yeah, wise words. This is a pleasure, man. I'm out here talking to the real deal right here, man. You got me going. I'm so happy to hear. I'm so happy to hear about the progress you made. You following this, man. It's needed and it's helping. I want to do nothing but wish you success, and we'll be here a step of the way, man. I'm gonna be checking in on you, man. I need to see. I better see you on TV, man. We gotta James. I'm rooting for you.
All of that, man. I appreciate it. Anybody I can get on my side and in my corner, I'll take it, because entrepreneurship is a lonely game. It can be a lonely game sometimes, and so thank you for being a friend and ally. Thank you for allowing me to come onto your platform and have a meaningful conversation. And man, invite me up. I'll come back again anytime.
You got it. Before, actually, at this time, where can people find you? How can people support? Where can people download?
All the things.
Yeah.
Just go to plainsight.app, and that's spelled PLAINSIGHT.app. On there, you'll be able to read what we're all about. You'll be able to see the button to download the app, search the app in the app store. It's first thing that pops up. And we're looking for ambassadors. So if you're interested in being a paid Plainsight ambassador, especially if you do events or if you plan events, click the partnerships page, partnerships link on our page. And there'll be information about our ambassador program there. But that's it.
Man, James, I really appreciate it, and we mean it. If a lot of people say this, but seriously, if you're ever in DC, you ever need anything, let me know. Moonlighters Club has interviewed a good amount of people from entrepreneur side, VC side, corporate side, working at large companies, small companies. So reach out if you ever need a connection. And I am not the I hate the whole paid connection thing. I think that's bullshit. I'm like, look, if two people need to meet and I'm the person in the way, let them meet. Whatever they build, they need to be like, right.
Work yourself out. Don't create more barriers.
Exactly. So if there's anyone I can introduce you to, yeah, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, everyone, thank you again for tuning in. Moonlighters Club, our podcasts are always in the same spot. We're glad to have James. We're glad to have you listen, and we'll see you all next time.
Peace.